We have an absolute jam-packed show today. I was in New York, just got off the plane now. I was there for Keith Hernandez to get his jersey retired. An amazing day. I'm going to talk about that in the show today. I'll talk about this series, which was a little bit disappointing. The split one against the Marlins. The Mets have 4 All-Stars. We're going to go through that and a huge series ahead against the Atlanta Braves. Let's not waste any more time. Here's today's episode of Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter at FinkelsteinRyan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. And this weekend, I was in New York City. Friday night, I was at the game. You've seen Jordan Grossman on the show if you follow us on YouTube or if you listen for our Friday Farm Reports. He also runs our social media. Caught a game with him and also Rob Pearson, a good buddy of mine from my days at Metsmerize. He, of course, runs Mets Legends. We've had him on the show a couple times. So it was good to catch up with some friends, watch the Mets play a game, and the game itself wasn't that good. It was the company, the environment that was the joy of Friday night, because the baseball game, not much to talk about. Chris Bassett was good, which would be a theme this weekend. The Mets got good starting pitching in each game. The lineup, though, they scored 10 runs in game one. You're on cloud 9 and all the way back down to earth. Not a good offensive weekend for the Mets. Honestly, they should have lost this series. They really should have. The Marlins played better, except for some pivotal moments that allowed the Mets to win on Saturday. But Friday night, all to talk about there was Bassett being good. Nimmo and Lindor each homered. Mets only got 5 hits. Let's just move on, because Saturday was one of the coolest sporting events I've ever been at. I think right now it's neck and neck. You know what? I still got to give Piazza the edge. Seeing Mike Piazza get into Cooperstown was such a cool experience. And it was me and my dad, and, all these Mets fans. And that was once in a lifetime, as was seeing Keith get his jersey retired. But both of these moments were great to be as a fan and to be in that building. I mean, it felt just absolutely electric, like a playoff game. Just to see the ovation that everybody got. Obviously, Keith, that was a given. But Mookie Wilson, just hear the entire crowd of, I don't even know how many people were there. It felt like 55,000. I don't know. It probably wasn't. I don't know how many people they could pack into that ballpark, but everyone in unison. Mook, that was great. And Ron Darling and Ed Lynch. There were so many, Mets legends that were on the field for this momentous occasion. And Keith Hernandez is, in my opinion, probably the most beloved Met. I mean, obviously Tom Seaver no longer with us. Mike Piazza always going to have a special place in Mets fans' hearts. David Wright, another one, of course. But because Keith crosses over with the broadcast and the playing career, it just makes it a little more special. And I got to give Keith credit. His speech was incredible, but also he composed himself a lot better. I was expecting a little more waterworks from him. He did a great job with his speech. Really, and all of them did a great job. The entire event was so well done. First base being, in gold was amazing. I was wondering if they keep the gold first base for the game. I guess they switched it out. Maybe you can't have guys potentially rolling their ankles on a who knows what that gold base was made of. But that was really cool to see. And I think the best moment of all of it was to see Keith Hernandez throw out the ceremonial first pitch from first base to his brother. That was awesome, man, because you just think back to when all of us, right, just play catch with a brother, for me, my dad or one of my buddies. And, think about the fact that those two had that same catch, in San Francisco when they were kids. And now it's all come full circle where here's Keith Hernandez, number 17 is going to be hanging up there forever now. And they get to celebrate and they get to be in that moment together and play catch or, had that ceremonial first pitch. That was awesome, man. I had chills pretty much from the beginning of the ceremony to the end, but that part at the end was just a cherry on top. Steve Cohen does all these type of events right. Just all the details that they put into it was just spectacular. And this is what I think we really love to see about this new era of Mets baseball. It's not just about the winning now, because obviously that's the big thing, right? Keith Hernandez at the end of the speech said, "Look, I love watching this team play," and he's not just putting on a show to say that because his jersey got retired. He's watching this team, and you can tell on the broadcast how much he likes this team. But the winning is obviously always going to be the most important thing, but it's the fan experience. It's celebrating the past. It's embracing the history of a franchise that obviously doesn't have the greatest history overall compared to maybe the team across town, but there's still special moments. There's still special people that should be recognized. And it was just way overdue for Keith to get this type of a weekend. And I was just thrilled to be in the ballpark for it. But then they started playing baseball. And it was funny because Carlos Carrasco, you have this great ceremony. He takes them out, and suddenly you got three guys on base, nobody out. And he actually gets out of that jam. It was one of those starts for Carrasco where he kind of walks the tightrope and finds his way through it. You just don't really know how he did it, but almost makes it through 6, 7 hits allowed, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 2 runs allowed. He ends up giving up an RBI double in the 6th and is pulled for Seth Lugo with 2 outs. Lugo ends up giving up the second run on a wild pitch. So really, Carrasco, the first 5 innings there, really strong. The Mets were able to get a lead in the bottom half of the 6th. They had scored one earlier in the game. Lindor hit a 2-run homer, so that put them up. Then you had Seth Lugo, who got the first 2 outs of the 7th, and Adam Ottavino came on, got the final out. He stays on for the 8th, and he gave up a home run to Jesus Aguilar that I was stunned went out. I mean, we're sitting down, left field line there. I got a good vantage point of it. Lindor's home run also right down that line. That one was a no-doubter. Aguilar's, it looked like a routine fly ball. All right, that's going to be short of the warning track for sure. And it just kept carrying and carrying and carrying. And it gets out that tied the game. Edwin Diaz, Ottavino stays on obviously for the rest of that inning and gave up a lot of loud contact. That was actually almost felt like the softest ball hit was the one that went out. It's kind of weird, but he gets through that inning. Edwin Diaz, absolutely disgusting in the following inning as he was on Sunday. I believe I saw a stat after the game when I was sitting on the plane, honestly. And I think it said that he's faced 139 batters this year and he struck out 70. So I think his strikeout rate once again climbed over 50%. And we're heading into the All-Star break. He was just named an All-Star because obviously he was. The guy is spectacular. But he gets through that 9th. You get to the extra innings. You got Birdie gets the hit that ends up tying the game, or not tying the game, that ends up giving the Marlins a lead. I hate John Birdie with all my heart. But that hit was an interesting play because Lindor makes a great stop on the hole. You have no chance to get Birdie at first. He flies, but he tries to get the runner at third. Really had no chance there. Should have ate it. Another instance where the Mets kind of played some bad baseball this weekend. That allows the run to score. Birdie ends up on second. But that is when the Marlins just said, you know what? It's Keith Hernandez day. Let's give this one to him. Let's just hand it over. So John Birdie gets backpicked, which prevents the Marlins from scoring a second run. And basically, just instead of diving into the base or sliding in, he tries to get back in standing. Lindor puts the tag on him, and his momentum was already carrying him off the bag, and he ends up falling off the bag. It gets called out. I saw some Marlins people saying he got pushed off the bag. Get out of here with that. That was ridiculous. It was just a really bad base running move from Birdie. And then Holderman, who was on pitching that inning, ends up escaping further damage. You get to the bottom of the inning. I thought the game was over. I'm sitting with my buddy Arm Layton, who is the co-founder of Just Baseball. And he is the only guy in the entire building that's a Marlins fan. Literally. I'm dead serious. Not another soul was pulling for the Marlins, which made him a little bit popular in our section in a bad way. And so I'm just like, I guess you got this one, not a good series for the Mets. And suddenly, after a couple strikeouts to start off the inning with the ghost runner, Tomas Nido doubles. And I put huge quotes on the doubles because he hits one down the third base line where maybe, if you want to say it would have been a single because maybe Brian Anderson, if he fields it cleanly, maybe he doesn't get the throw over to first. To me, it should have been a routine grounder. Somehow gets under his glove. That allows the tying run to come in. I'm like, oh my God, the Mets have another chance. How did that happen? And then Brandon Nimmo hits a comebacker. And I still can't believe this happened. Remember, Nito's on second at this point. Okay. Comebacker, the pitcher could have ate it because he bobbles it. And if he eats it, you got runners at first and third. Instead, he tries to make a play, probably had no chance at making a play, spikes it, throws it away, gifts the Mets a game. And I saw the comparisons to 1986, which is cool, right? Baseball has this serendipitous way about it where this was the first time that the Mets have won a game in extras where they already had two outs and it was on an error from the other team. One of those really weird stats, right? And obviously, everyone's talking 86 Mets, Keith Hernandez, perfect way for it to end. I thought it was all ridiculous to even kind of make that comparison. Not that it's not an interesting fact, it is, but being in the building, it didn't feel like I don't want any comparisons to that Mets rally in 1986 because people forget the Mets tied that game before that. I know obviously they did here, but they tied that game off the merit of their hitters string together a legitimate rally and then obviously the pass ball. But it was a lot more effort on the Mets half, where in this game, literally the Marlins handed it to the Mets. The Mets did nothing to win that game. Nothing. In the extra innings in particular. Absolutely nothing. But baseball works in a special way. You want to win for Keith. And the one thing I'll say is if you have not heard Gary Cohen's call, and obviously I didn't at the time because I was in the building, by listening back to it, the fact this is why Gary Cohen is the best in the business. The fact that he has the presence of mind to have a callback to Vince Scully's call from the 1986 World Series, arguably the most iconic call in MLB history, where of course it's "Here comes Knight and the Mets win it," and he says that with Nito, "Here comes Nito and the Mets win it." That's incredible. I got chills right now thinking about it again. So awesome. So it was amazing to be there, but the series was disappointing, and we'll talk about why it really got disappointing on Sunday in just a minute. I'll also touch on the 4 All-Stars the Mets have, which I think, of course, is exciting to know that here's a first-place team that has all of those All-Stars that will be representing them in the game. But before we get to that, our next partner has a product that I literally use every day now, which is Athletic Greens, because for a while, I wanted to get some more vitamins and nutrients in my diet, but I didn't want to take a million different things. And then I found Athletic Greens, where with one delicious scoop, I'm absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that help start my day right. This special blend of ingredients supports my gut health, my nervous system, my immune system, my energy, my focus, my recovery, and aging. Athletic Greens is over 7,000 five-star reviews and is recommended by pro athletes. It costs you less than $3 a day. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MLB network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So after everything that we saw on Saturday, Sunday was a game where you kind of always thought the Mets were going to lose it, right? Going up against Sandy Alcantara, that's a tough task for any team. This guy's probably going to start the All-Star game. That's how good he has been this year. So there's no shame in the fact that Alcantara gets through 7 innings and the Mets don't score any runs. But here's the thing. Taijuan Walker was just as good, if not better. Taijuan Walker gave it 3 hits. Alcantara, 6. Taijuan Walker and Alcantara both walked 1. Alcantara had 4 strikeouts. Walker had 7. This guy now has a 2.63 ERA. I've completely flipped the script on my opinion of Taijuan Walker, as anyone who's been listening to the show has kind of seen evolve throughout the season. This guy's splitter is legitimately one of the best pitches in baseball. It's that good. He gets ground balls. He can get double plays to get out of jams, and it's a good out pitch for him. So he goes through that Marlins lineup. He carves through them, and he was let down in this game because you got to score on the Marlins bullpen. It's not like this is an elite group. Now, granted, you got Bass with the 1.47 ERA pitch the 8th. Okay, fair. But then you got Blyer. The Mets could not score off Blyer. Rich Blyer? Are you kidding me? His ERA was over 5. And they couldn't put up a run in the 9th inning to take that game. And I'm not trying to knock the Mets and say the whole thing is falling apart. They're 20 games over 500, but that's not the taste in your mouth you want to have going into this pivotal series against the Braves. You got to do better than that offensively. And so I think this is why I continue to bang the drum for Mark Vientos to come up. And now when you're sitting here not knowing what's going on with James McCann, well, McCann is on the IL, but really offensively, what's the difference between getting a little more of Nito and getting Patrick Mazeika than getting James McCann out there? I think you're pretty much in the same boat offensively. It hurts you defensively because McCann's a good leader for this pitching staff. And it's a shame because he worked so hard to get back from that other hand injury. But losing Starling Marte, that's going to be rough. And McNeil's on paternity. So you're going to be in this next series against the Braves down bats. And to me, it's like, why don't you call up Vientos now? Figure it out from there. But obviously, then you get into who's playing the field because you still got JD Davis. And the last thing I want to see is some crazy offensive lineup where JD's playing third and you got like Eduardo Escobar at second. I would hate to see that. Louis Guillorme does deserve credit. He's the one guy that showed up offensively in this game. He got 3 hits off of the soon-to-be Cy Young. Okay, so as much as we talk about Guillorme going through in a little bit, here we are about to get to the All-Star break. You look at the entire line of his season. Louis Guillorme is batting .303. So when McNeil's on paternity, Guillorme is going to be at second base every day, where him and Lindor turn some of the best double plays you'll ever see. The question is, where's the offense coming from? Because Eduardo Escobar, another bad series. Mark Canha going through it a little bit, although his game today wasn't that bad. He got a hit and a couple walks. Lindor hit the home runs. He's coming out of it a little bit, but you still have the collective of what he's done since June, and you're not completely banking on him to carry your lineup right now. Alonso seems to be going through a slight funk, although he did hit the home run prop for me. Shout out to Pete. Always comes through. Every time I'm at a game, I bet the home run prop. I come back from this trip from BetOnline, and guess what? I'm up thanks to Pete Alonso because he got that one on Saturday. But this lineup needs a little jolt, so I would like to see them call up Vientos and figure it out. And maybe that means you call up Vientos and Jankowski is going to join the team, and you see how he does. And if he does well in Marte, doesn't need an IL stint, or he comes back quickly, whatever it is, maybe that's when JD Davis gets an option. But regardless, to me, it's getting to that point where I want to see Vientos, but maybe they want to make a change like that after the break, and they're going to try to get through this stretch here. But this series against the Braves is pivotal, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But first, I do also want to talk about the Mets' 4 All-Stars real quick, because it is significant to have 4 in a game. Last year, I believe it was just Taijuan Walker, technically Jacob deGrom, but obviously he was on the shelf. So now you got Pete Alonso. Everyone knew that. Pete was going to be there, and deservedly so. Honestly, it kind of frustrates me that William Contreras gets in as the reserve DH, and they might end up starting him because of that at DH. I don't know how that works because Bryce Harper obviously won't be playing in the game. Pete should start at DH. If they could do that, that should be how it works. He should get the start because, let's be honest, he's done a hell of a lot more this season than William Contreras. But Pete's there. Jeff McNeil is once again an all-star. And I know at times there's a certain segment of my listener base that doesn't like when I pat myself on the back. But excuse me while I take a victory lap on behalf of Jeff McNeil. Because how many times did I have to read comments this offseason? Trade Jeff McNeil. You're so wrong. He's bad at defense. He can't hit. I got it nonstop. And time and again, every episode, what was I saying? You don't need Chris Bryant. Don't sign him. You got Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil's better defensively, and Jeff McNeil can be a better offensive player too. Let's not give up on Jeff McNeil after one bad season in 2021. And what has he done this year? He's been the Mets' most consistent player, not named Pete Alonso, and he's going to be in his second All-Star game in the last 3 chances because the 2020 season, there was no All-Star game. So 2019, All-Star. That was also his first season, mind you. So now this guy's basically had, really, if you think about it, 3 chances to be an all-star, and he's getting in at a 66.7% clip. Pretty damn good for Jeff McNeil. So I was fired up about that. And Starling Marte gets in as well. I think that you could have gone Marte, you could have gone Nimmo, but Marte, if you really look at it, has been the better player, at least the more consistent player, especially lately. Marte's been really good. Who knows? Maybe he won't be able to play in the game, and Nimmo will get in his place. That would be kind of fair, especially when you see the Braves. I think they have at least 4 all-stars as well. So it would be good to see the Mets still have the 4 representatives out there. And Nimmo, it'd be great to see him get that nod as a replacement if Marte's not available. But I think it was also really good to see that Marte ends up in the game. Another guy that, by the way, I was campaigning for at the end of last season for the Mets to sign. I said he should be the number 1 priority. And look where he's at now in the all-star game. I think that it's also a little bit of kind of an acknowledgement of what he did last year, where he didn't get in the All-Star game, despite being, clearly, if you look at the numbers, a top 20, maybe even a top 15 player in baseball last year, and he wasn't an All-Star. Now he is. So that was really good. And then obviously Edwin Diaz, we already touched on. Remarkable season for him. The ERA is down to 1.78 after the game today as he struck out 2 in a perfect inning. So those are your 4 All-Stars for the Mets. You could say Taijuan Walker was snubbed, but there's so many good pitchers, and you got to also remember they need a representative for each team. So is Walker having a better season than Luis Castillo? Let me look it up real quick. I think he probably is, but if it wasn't Castillo as their representative, it was probably going to be Brandon Drury. So yeah, I look at it now and it's splitting hairs. I'd probably say Walker's had a better year, but the Reds need a representative. So that's how it works sometimes. And honestly, I think I'm fine with Walker not being in the game because last year that didn't work out too well for him. So maybe it's good to have the day off, or the week off, relax a little bit, get refreshed, not have to worry about flying somewhere and pitching on a weird schedule, all that. Stay with what's worked for you. And hopefully Taijuan Walker have a really good second half because he just has been a revelation in the first half. But we still have to talk about really the most pressing story of the day as we get into Monday here. The Mets are about to play the Braves, and the division is up for grabs. Not where you want it to be, but it's going to be a thrilling series nonetheless. We'll talk about it in just a minute, but first, I want to welcome you to the world of sports cards reimagined with the Sports Card Investor app, which is the hobby's most powerful resource where you can quickly check the value of your favorite cards, find great deals, and profit from the hobby you love. Available completely free in the Google Play and Apple App Store, the Sports Card Investor app is a must-have for all baseball fans where you can easily browse 630,000 cards from every sport with hundreds more added each week. Check the latest values of your favorite cards with 7-day or 30-day charts, find the best prices, and buy directly through the app with their eBay deals feature. Whether you're interested in investing in a prospect like a Francisco Alvarez, you think it's going to pop, and you want to buy him when the stock's a little bit lower before he becomes an MLB superstar, you can do that. Or if you want to think about a great player of the past like Keith Hernandez, you can go there and find a card from him as well. All you have to do is download the Sports Card Investor app today, which is available for free in the Google Play and Apple App Store, or go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked on. All right, so this is a pivotal series we're about to watch. Mets versus Braves in Atlanta. And unfortunately, the division is within grasp for this Braves team. They're only one back in the win column, game and a half back from the Mets. There is a chance that in 2 days, the Braves are in first place in this division. Not where you want it to be. But here's one thing I'll say. Look at the rest of the league right now. You have the Dodgers, who have just gone on a tear recently. They're 9-1 in the last 10, so they're now at 56 wins. They're the best team in the league again. The Mets and the Braves are the second and third best team. So it's not a shame to be behind the Braves. That's not something that you should feel bad about. Yeah, obviously the Mets got off to the fast start, but guess what? The Braves were dealing with injuries earlier in the year, and the Mets are dealing with them now. So it's kind of how baseball works over a full 162 games. And the reality is this division will be decided on how these two teams play against each other. It's that simple. That's what it comes down to. And either way, they're both going to be playoff teams. I'm pretty confident in that. I really am. And you look at this Braves lineup, honestly, right now, which team has the better starting lineup? Like, let's seriously go through it. You got Travis d'Arnaud and William Contreras. Both of them are all-stars. You got Matt Olson. He's a good player. Not Pete Alonso, but he's a good player. You got Orlando Arcia, their one maybe weak link right now, who's in place of Ozzie Albies, but really his production, not that bad. You got Dansby Swanson, who is not only playing like an all-star, he is an all-star. He is playing like the best shortstop in the league right now. That's how good he's been, shockingly. Didn't see that coming at all. Austin Riley probably has a 40 home run season in him this year. He's still really good at third base. They got Duvall in the outfield. They got, other guys like Eddie Rosario is back now. They got Marcelo Zuna. They have Michael Harris, potentially the rookie of the year, playing out of his mind. And they got Ronald Acuna Jr. back. It's a better lineup than the Mets right now. And when the Mets get whole and, if they can add the DH or if Vientos takes off or something like that, maybe more comparable. And I still like the Mets pitching a little bit more. But again, there's no shame in losing this division to the Braves other than the fact that this is a Mets team that, should be able to compete with them. But I think when the year ends, it's going to be Dodgers, Mets, Braves, the best three teams in this league. And again, with that said, it's hard to really get too freaked out about it at this point. There's a lot of season left. So try not to fall off a cliff here if the Mets lose the first game. Don't panic too much because, again, it doesn't mean the Mets' playoff hopes are in jeopardy. It's just their division hopes. Now, you look at this series. This is the first one of this final stretch of the season here where these guys are going to be playing a lot. They got a 5-game series at Citi Field that begins on August 4th. Massive, massive. Then they have a couple series in between there, and then play a 4-game set in Atlanta. So that's going to be 9 games in a 15-game stretch against the Braves. That right there is where the division is decided. Right after the trade deadline, too, mind you. So that's why it's so important for the Mets to get DeGrom healthy, to have everyone kind of going here, and to figure out this offense before then. And you love, of course, to get this series now. Then, at the end of the season, their second to last series will be played against the Braves in Atlanta. Very much could see either team clinch the division in that series. Luckily for the Mets, their final series will be against the Washington Nationals. Now, going through the pitching matchups here, you got Scherzer versus Max Fried, game 1. Great matchup. Scherzer 2.26 ERA in the year, Fried 2.52. Game 2, David Peterson with his 3.48 ERA going against Spencer Strider, who is another Rookie of the Year candidate, a 2.60 ERA. His strikeout rate's nearly 40%, nearly 14 strikeouts per 9 right now as well. Got a 98-mile-per-hour fastball on average, and he has a whiff percentage over 50 on both his slider and his changeup. Ergo, that's why he strikes out a ton of batters. So that's a tough task on game 2 there. Then you got Chris Bassett versus Charlie Morton, which I think is kind of an interesting matchup. Morton's pitched a lot better as of late, has a 4.21 ERA in the season. Bassett, 3.94. A couple of veterans there squaring off. We'll see who gets the edge if that ultimately is a rubber match game. But there really is no underselling the importance of this series. Every single game against the Braves on the stretch could decide this division. I don't think you have to panic too much, regardless of what happens about this Mets team. Give them some time. This is a really tough part of the schedule. They're just trying to survive to the All-Star break. But if you want to have a division lead by the All-Star break, you got to win this series. So considering the way they just played against the Marlins, you want to see a completely different ball club show up later on tonight as Scherzer will take the hill. But anyway, that's going to be all we have for you today on Locked On Mets. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On Prospects with host Lindsey Crosby, who is a prospect encyclopedia. The draft is coming up, so you want to go there to get all of your draft coverage. You can follow Locked On MLB Prospects wherever you get podcasts.